find himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's just such a he's touched on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching. And the Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Coming down, let's have it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's gonna do it! Big Barry!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel and welcome back to another round of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. We're here in Watkins Glen for the penultimate round of season number 2. And well, what a battle it is going to be. With our top 2 in the championship absent, it opens the door for more in terms of that fight for the podium and more importantly, that fight for the win. Plenty of action to come. My name is Zach Sweeney, Dean Biggles alongside me in the commentary booth, and let's talk about the championship standings. David Holland, Mackenzie Roon separated by 21 points apiece, though neither of them here opens the door, as I say, potentially for Model E's Kiko or Robert Ridgway, who are both having some mightily consistent seasons to maybe close that deficit, maybe get themselves involved, and maybe go for that debut win. Daniel Whitfield, Brian Long as well, not too far behind in 5th and 6th. Same to Carson Keenan, Petter Vedding, Andy Jaeger and Alex Rivera, not really separated by too much either. Then you've got Kai Kiao, Anthony Zeich in a very heated fight all the way down to P12. Seth MacFarlane and Joel Dutton round off the field, 13th and 14th, with 38 and 36 points apiece as well. But an incredibly close championship nonetheless, only a couple of points swing each way as we were talking about, and with it being the penultimate round, it means there's not really too much left on the table, and you've got to be giving absolutely everything if you want to succeed before we say goodbye to the Formula 3s and say hello to the Super Formulas for Season 3, but not really Season 3, it's more Season 1. Anyway, Dean Biggles, welcome in, of course, once again. It's a double broadcast for us today after just completing the W13 Championship. We're here for the SR4S Formula 3s, and, well, Watkins Glen, it's a brilliant circuit.
Absolutely amazing. It's probably one of the best circuits that you're going to have in the United States of America, and these drivers are pushing it like crazy. Watching during the practice session, a lot of mistakes, really pushing it. You saw just a mistake there from Carson Keen as he went off track, pushing it to the limit. This track is not forgiven. You can see the bumps through the S's here, full speed. These cars are very light. They'll get thrown all over the track and into the fence. And we'll have an eye on how crucially important that once again the qualifying session is, with the 2 top guns in the championship not in town this evening.
Yeah, that is interesting. It usually would be sort of a golden opportunity for someone to close the gap on David Holland, who, of the 6 races this season, he's only lost 1 of them, and that's because he wasn't here for that one, and it was Alex Rivera a couple of weeks ago at the Charlotte Roval who took that victory then. But yeah, David Holland with 5 wins to his name. Of course, it's going to be someone else etching their way into the winner's book this evening, because Alex Rivera is not here either. So it will be a brand new winner this season. Who is it going to be? Who's the one setting the time? And well, who's it going to be in that battle as well? It probably won't be just one singular person going for victory. Andy Jaeger, Model E's Kiko, setting the times early in qualifying. Only 6/100ths of a second between the 2 of them. And Model E's Kiko, to talk about her for a minute, Dean Biggles, because she's one of those drivers that's always up there, always inside the top 5. She's never really, well, I mean, she's gotten a couple of podiums, but she's never really had that golden opportunity to actively win a race. I think tonight might be her best shot yet.
I think it absolutely will be her best shot tonight, because once again, with a couple of drivers not here, it just opens up some new doors and new challenges. And it's time right now for Mod to step up. She's been really improving as well her qualifying, which is putting her up in a more of a position to battle it out. Carson Key now on a bit of a flyer at the moment, and our sole Canadian driver here this evening, as you can see, 3rd sector purple, that's been replaced by Daniel, and we have to see the Whitfield family out there too supporting Daniel. Daniel's also one of those possibilities to himself get a podium, in fact not even even a win. So we'll see if Dan the Man can do anything about it. First of all, we're going to see what Carson Keen can do for the Valley Motorsports team. As you can see, goes across the line there, straight to the top currently at the moment from Carson Keen. So that's Canada up top. What about Dan the Man? Can he do it? Andy Jaeger goes into P3 there. Dan, can he get a first pole of the season? No, goes up into P5 there, 33 thousandths of a second. All the 3s on the clock.
Yeah. 333 thousandths of a second, 3.33 tenths of a second, or 0.333 seconds. Whichever way you want to word it, it's all the threes for Dan Whitfield, who is a mega driver, and in a very hotly contested qualifying session, it could be the smallest of things that make the biggest of differences. Robert Ridgway goes to pole position, a 1:35.1, sees him 67 thousandths of a second clear from Carson Keane, albeit that's not a very secure time. We're into sort of the final laps really of qualifying with only 2 minutes left on the clock. As soon as that timer ticks 0, that's session over, so you better get your last laps in quick. Petter Vedding, the Norwegian, again hotly in that competition for what could well be third place in the championship if all things go well for him. He's got to really kickstart that campaign here today. At the moment, 3/4 of a second off pole position, but into the final stage of his final lap. A small improvement, only 0.3 of a second or so, would actually see him up a couple of places. So he is going to need to nail these final couple of corners.
Yep, this is it, and we know that he has the pace there. He's just had unfortunate, I believe, of a couple of disconnects, pushing the limits of this track right now. This is it, final corner. Spot the apex, get on the power there, keep it as close as you can to the wall, and up through the gears. Let's see if he'll get his time up there. 77th. Oh, there it is. He's so just been replaced a little bit, dropped down to P7, but still a good time. Robert's on a flyer as well, looking to maybe secure and keep securing that potential. Not like that, unfortunately, there, Robert. That was a huge excursion off the track there. Definitely would have cost some time. Anybody else?
Yeah, but it might be allowed. I'm not entirely sure what the track limit says in iRacing, because sometimes it's allowed, sometimes it's not. You really do just have to push the limit with it. But purple through some of the sectors, an improvement in some and not an improvement in others. It's been a wishy-washy lap for Robert Ridgway. Is it going to be an extension on pole position? He's got it in the bag. Does he just want to rub salt in the wounds and stake his claim? I don't think he's quite been able to. Indeed, actually, no, he has. A 1:38 dead. Beautiful stuff. A slight improvement, and well, it would have been good enough for pole position anyway, but he just wanted to make sure, put that nail in the coffin and say, you know what, lads, I'm here, I'm ready to go, and takes pole position. But only a second, less than a second, covering the entire field. This definitely is the perfect qualifying session that will hopefully proceed into a very decent race in a few moments' time.
Two drivers as well, yet they didn't even set a time there. I wonder if they pushed the track limits or didn't even get out there. Track limits at this point in the boot are allowed to go wide. T1 is not disallowed, turn 1. Thank you very much for Mod, and she says obviously wish her luck here this evening, and she's going to send it. She's been pushed down to P4 there for our qualifying session, which we will show you the results for that qualifying. Actually, we'll just go straight onto the grid at this point right now for our race.
Robert Ridgway takes pole position here in Watkins Glen. Carson Keane will join him on the front row with Andy Yeager and Modley's Kiko looking for her first win in this championship. Dan Whitfield inside the top 5 with Anthony Zeich alongside him on row 3, the man from New York, at his home race, of course, Watkins Glen in upstate New York. Petter Vedding a long way from home in the 7th place. And of course, the Norwegian, very much, as I say, a long way from home. Joel Dutton, the man from Luxembourg, and Dominic Angelico, the two drivers that did not quite manage to get a time in qualifying, start this race from 8th and 9th. We're about to get ourselves underway for the racing action here in Watkins Glen. A standing start. The 5 red lights will come on, the 5 red lights will go out, and we'll be underway. A mandatory pit stop as well to contend with. But out and out, Dean, it's probably just going to be some hard, fun, fair racing.
It has, and it has been the sim racing for Simpletons leagues being like that all season long, and we're not going to expect anything less here in round 7 of our Formula 3 championships. It's going to be interesting once again. Those race starts are ones that make or break the difference, isn't it? That's you can practice your laps over and over again and get the fastest times if you want. But if you cannot get that car off the line as quick as the rest of the other 8 drivers that are pairing up next to you, well, then you may be struggling. So we'll see. We're waiting for Robert. We're waiting for Anthony. We're waiting for Dominic. And we're waiting for the green lights. So the red lights to go out, of course. And then the green flag to say waving with Barney.
Yeah, he'll be waving the strongest right arm in sim racing to signal us underway for our racing action. Still waiting for Robert Ridgway and Dominic Angelico to get us onto the starting procedure. There you can see the 117 of Robert Ridgway. Focus the camera on him, getting a nice panoramic shot of his Dallara Formula 3 machine. Here we go. The 5 red lights are on. Ridgeway and Key in the front row. We are underway here in Watkins Glen for the penultimate round of Season 2 of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Championship. It's an amazing start from Carson Keane on the outside going into turn number 1. He's managed to get himself up into the lead. Ridgeway not with the best of runs, but now we start this long, flat-out climb up through the S's and then down the back straight towards the bus stop. Could we see Robert Ridgeway spark a counter-attack for the lead? Carson Keane is going to have to work hard in order to defend it. Side by side they'll go, as also the fight for fourth between Petter Vedding and Model East Kiko. The run now, the long run. You can see the 64 machine of Dan Whitfield under a little bit of pressure as Kiko tries to go to the outside. She's forced wide and forced to concede, but a good start out in front. Robert Ridgeway getting himself back into the lead.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic start. Daniel going 2 positions as well, so in front of that battle is fantastic. And here's a little bit of a battle further back for the Dutch driver on the grid at the moment of Mr. Andy Yeager, and he's caught up with a nice fight there with Peter Weaving and Mr. Anthony Zink, so that's going to be good. I think I'm a challenge right now, and he could be making a challenge. Why not early days at the Glen?
Yeah, going to be pushing, trying to make the most of it, because again, this is going to be a very hotly contested race with how close everyone is. They're all going to be trying to give 110%. You cannot afford to be off the pace, and you could definitely not be affording to be out of rhythm in the opening stages. This is the most important time of this round, especially in the opening phase. This is where you establish yourself, you make your claim, and already Robert Ridgeway is trying to extend the gap with Carson Keane. They're building up already a 2-second gap back to Dan Whitfield, who himself is up 2 places in the opening moment, albeit not without a lot of pressure. Into the pit lane already a number of drivers.
Yeah.
What for?
That's a very, very early pit stop. So maybe just wanting to get those pit stops over and done with right now. 4 of those drivers you can see straight in a pit road. Definitely no drive-through penalties for that. You would know when I have time. So just getting it over and done with. You said it's a mandatory pit stop, so see how that pans out. Currently at the moment, we still have our race leader there of Robert Ridgeway, Carson Keane, and Andy Yeager still out on track. And Peter's now putting the pressure on. Tucked up.
He is.
Yep, go ahead.
Into the bus stop chicane. Not quite close enough on this occasion, but yeah, he's under pressure. Or putting the pressure on, I should say, Andy Yeager. But how much do they want to fight, considering already the gap to Robert Ridgeway and Carson Keane is 5 seconds?
Yeah, exactly. And well, Carson Keane's now tucked up in the gearbox. See a little bit of a lock up there from Peter. He's usual place to get a lock up too. You're not a heavy braking zone there. So just snapped it. We'll go back to the replay and look at the start of the race soon. But we're just going to keep an eye on these 2 battles that are brewing, as the rest of those drivers that are a little bit further down the road there of Dan Whitfield and so forth have elected to box early, and we've had 2 retirements. So the 2 drivers who didn't set any times during the qualifying are out of this race.
They are indeed. It's a bit of a shame, but of course things happen in motorsport. Of course, Dominic Angelico not really had the best luck so far this season, but look at this fight for the lead. Carson Keane on the back of Robert Ridgeway in the battle for the race lead. Robert Ridgeway, of course, in that hotly contested fight with Model East Kiko for 3rd place in the championship. Carson Keane just trying to sort of make up some places as and when he can. He finished 2nd to Mackenzie Ruin last season and would like to at least get a little bit close to that, maybe get himself a win this season as well, and he's definitely got a good chance of doing that. Shayla Whitfield saying she thinks it is penalties going the way of some of those drivers coming in, potentially stewards infringements or drive-throughs, something or other. Tucked up in the slipstream though is Carson Keane. He pulls up to the left-hand side, definitely keen to go for the lead over the bumps though.
Yeah.
Lucky to get away with that one.
You're lucky to have a back left after that. That's got to hurt a little bit. Definitely slows the car down. And could evenly be exploring the track limits. Well, once again, we got a little bit of information. The track limits are difficult to know precisely around here. Luckily, the drivers are aware of it. Now, those are penalty situations. Yes, exactly. 4 of those drivers caught out on that one. 2 of them retired. And thank you for Daniel's mother. She knows best. Mums know best, don't they?
They do. That is the... well, a song in Tangled, first of all. So yeah, they definitely do. They know how things are. I think Shayla is girlfriend, fiance, wife.
Oops, I just murdered myself on that one. Then sorry.
I think it's Susan that is his mum, and then you've also got You've got his sister as well, or sister-in-law.
Oh.
Someone. There's someone in here. Yeah, but it's all the girls in his life, which is lovely. They're all supporting him, cheering him on, and have been his biggest cheerleader throughout the season, which is great. We love that, cheering on from the sidelines. Andy Yeager, the fastest lap of this race, setting a decent lap time of 1:38.6, 2/10 of a second quicker than the two leaders of Robert Ridgway and Carson Keane. But Petter Wedding is not going away at all. He's still in the slipstream and still fighting away for third place. 28 laps of racing action. We've already completed 4 of them. We've got a mandatory pit stop along the way as well. Model E's Kiko, though, sets the fast lap, a 38.3. Was there a jump start at some point?
Let's have a look at the replay here. We'll try to find the chopper there and slow it down a little bit. This is Robert. This is into the first turn. These two drivers, where are the rest? They're right back in the field there. There's Mod on the outside. She runs really wide. There's Daniel. And these are all the drivers here, the ones that serve those penalties. We assume they're penalties. They said the drive-throughs. So, I don't know. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
It is. But, well, racing's racing. You can see there also how Robert Ridgway reclaimed the race lead at the front of the field. But yeah, not the best of starts for some, but still a long way to go in terms of the racing action here at Watkins Glen. And, well, you can see now as we cut back to the live pictures that Robert Ridgway has actually been able to open the gap to Carson Keane to now 2 seconds, which is a little bit strange as to how that's happened so swiftly. But Carson Keane, that last lap, was about 1.5 seconds slower than Robert Ridgway, so he's got a lot of ground to make up if he wants to get back into the fight for the lead. Yeah,
I don't see anything in particular. I'll just give a little race notifications like enter the pit road, but he did not enter the pit road, so that's just because if they get close to the pit lane entrance, it just triggers a little bit of the data that says, hey, they're in pit road. But they're not, and considering of those who had ventured down the pit road already, well, these drivers, I'm just giving you an idea, this information's not even coming up for us at the moment, so pit stop should be here. There it is. Not even showing anything. So is that classed as that drive-through in the pits is not classed as an actual pit stop?
Yeah, if they've just driven through the pit lane, it's not counted as a stop because they haven't stopped. They've just driven through the pit lane. So that is why it's not going to showcase their mandatory stop. Even if it did, it wouldn't be, well, it's not late enough in the race to really go for it. Yes, they only need a splash and dash, but you sort of need the splash and dash a little bit later on in the race. You are taking sort of still 3-4 laps of fuel, and they pitted at the end of lap 1, so that's not enough fuel to be topped up in order to get to the end. Update on the race, by the way, Carson Keane able to reclose the gap to Ridgway to now 1.6 seconds. Be interesting to see how that develops over the course of the coming laps. Model E's Kiko down Whitfield making some decent progress through the field, but the unfortunate thing here, Dean, is the fact that in qualifying we saw how close they all were. So much so that now things have spread out, it's going to be difficult for these drivers to actually reclose themselves back up because they're so close.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. I mean, you can pull in some of these bank up the best laps you could possibly see, as Carlson does, set the fastest lap at 1:38.2. That's only 2/10, a little bit quicker than Robert. So it just gaining that little bit of time is so much work and effort and concentration, and these drivers can't afford to make any little mistakes to do it. And that's why you're driving on the absolute limit. And Susan comes out there with a come on Daniel. So there it is. There's the Whitfield family. Daniel currently at the moment is the one I have to defending against Mod Kiko soon. And she's about 1.6 and change down the road. But look at that. As you said, you're not making a great deal of gain. So whatever you do here is probably going to have to maybe be on pit stop strategy. Oh!
Yeah. Over the curbs. And again, it's tricky because, again, it's a 6-gear corner and these cars only have got 6 gears, so you are carrying a lot of speed through. And with how rigid these single-seater suspensions are, of course, you can see the pushrod suspension is set up to be as stiff as possible, to have as responsive a car as possible. Does mean when you go over bumps, you feel the bumps. There's not really much in the form of shock absorbers and things like that to dampen the ride because there's not really much play with the wheels. Yes, they move up and down a little bit, but you go over a bump, the car's going to go up over it. And thankfully, in the virtual world, you don't really typically feel said bumps, but the car definitely will. And it's very easy to pick up a little bit of suspension damage if the bump is sort of hard enough. So something to be mindful of, especially here at Watkins Glen, because it is a punishing circuit in its own right. Very difficult, very old school, very fast, very flowing. One of the best circuits really in North America to contend with. We've had many memorable moments at Watkins Glen across all different disciplines. IMSA, IMSA is an endurance series, but endurance racing in general. Of course, GT racing, and Carson Keane once again finding out how punishing the curbs are. It's an easy mistake to make because once you make it, you sort of, you lose a lot of time. It's not like one of those mistakes you can correct and only lose a tenth or two. You go over the curb and you've lost half a second at least.
That's like Brands Hatch, those high speed you can't like S's through there. They're amazing. It's just so much fun if you get it perfect. So much pain if you get it wrong. There's many tracks around the world. Of course, this one, let's say Brands Hatch as well too, is a very, very similar track to this one. The elevation changes. Remember, Formula 1 used to be here back in the day as well too, and they had some cracking races. But unfortunately, this track just doesn't. Upstate New York just can't really pull the massive entertainment of the F1 circus show these days to even run a bid there to be a part of it. But it would be a fantastic track. I mean, we all know Las Vegas is going to be a snowfest or a boring race compared to something like this if Formula 1 was to return to it. But to get Formula 1 as an entertainment sport. Carson Keane can't do a great deal to Robert Ridgway, who's going to try to seize an opportunity of maximum points here this weekend, as you said. Tied 3rd and 4th in the championship with Mod, and Mod at least down there in P6. Well, that's going to give him a little bit of a sigh of relief, knowing that more points to secure that P3 position and gets closer to the top 2 championship.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good opportunity to close the gap. Probably won't be able to sort of get themselves into the mix, especially after tonight there only being one more round when we go to Aragon, as Carson Keane not really able to learn from his mistakes going through that chicane, really struggling to get the front end of the car tipped in and get that rotation, especially as opposed to Robert Ridgway, who's now able to extend the gap to 2.5 seconds clear. And well, Carson Keane has got to be very careful not to allow that gap to get too big to the point that it's unrecoverable. Dan Whitfield on his fight back through the field is slowly but surely closing the gap to Petter Wedding, and well, would love to potentially close some more gaps. I mean, he's only 4 points behind on that fight between Robert Ridgway and Modelese Kiko, so we'll be gaining some points in that respective battle. So really hotly contested fight for 3rd. Again, a lot of things very hotly contested in this championship, and for good reason, because it's such an insane championship. So much so that the competition that we have is just sort of sometimes second to none. I mean, yeah, of course we've had a couple of runaway races with race wins and things, especially on days where David Holland is here. But in terms of that midfield championship, it's been very much open for almost anyone to contend with. We've had so many different people take to the podium, just unfortunately not as many being able to take to the top step of it, with only 2, Holland and Rivera, having 5 and 1 respectively. But yeah, all in all, Dean, it's been a relatively successful season. Will be interesting though to see when the Super Formula Championship kickstarts itself, because, well, it's a new car in iRacing. It's a breath of fresh air, really, for some of these drivers, and, well, a step into the unknown.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm sure the drivers will have to get a lot of experience under their belt as much as they can with those new open wheel cars and get on to the power. Going back to that one weekend, I mean, having a new race winner here, at least for the season, at least. That's guaranteed, isn't it? So we're going to go back real quick there because we know the Whitfield family is here. And let's have a look at Daniel's race start from on board the Dan the Man. Look at that. Look at that acceleration straight. Picks the right-hand side perfectly. Position gained and is currently up maybe into about P3. You can see the car to the left-hand side. And gets a good entrance into the corner there. Tucks up on the inside there, allowing enough space to the right. Gets on the power. And there's Mr. Daniel 64 machine currently in P3 at this point of the race, but then this when it all goes pole-shaped as to what happened, because to me that didn't look like a jump start, did it?
seemed to be a perfect start, really, more than anything. So, yeah, would be interested to see where the penalties are, unless, I'm not entirely sure, unless they're carryovers from Spa. Obviously, it was yourself and Chris that went through Spa, so I wouldn't know if there was any major infringements that happened on circuit, but I wouldn't imagine, because that would be the first time I've ever seen anyone carry forward penalties, and we didn't hear anything from Model East Kiko in the YouTube chat. She seemed very motivated to go for the win. So I'm sure she would have told us if she was carrying over a penalty. It must have been something that she had on track. Potentially, like this 5th place, through turn number 2, through the S's, and in the slipstream, Model East Kiko is going to be very eager to get herself through on Dan Whitfield, chopping her nose in order to get some fresh air and get herself, I should say, alongside Dan Whitfield in that fight for 5th. A little bit of a wiggle. The 778 pulls out to the left-hand side. It's the long way round going into the bus stop chicane, but she's forced to tuck back in, and it's a very wide line from Dan Whitfield. It's a big mistake from him. Model East Kiko gets herself through, up in a 5th place, and a mighty move indeed.
That is very, very difficult to do that. But Dan, I was wondering if he was mirror driving a little bit there, trying to keep her behind at all points, at all times, and very difficult once again to go through those. Let's have a look. We did see this. Look at that from Mod's perspective, and that's it. Just, I was going to say it's not easy pickings, but it was. And Daniel, this is where Daniel makes a mistake right there. Just probably try to hold off Mod. And just like that, maybe a little quick glance in your mirrors just caused you to go off that racing line through that section. And now you've just unfortunately lost that position. But he still can do something about it. Plenty of time to go on the dial. 11 of 28, 18 to go, Zach.
Yeah. So we're getting through these laps thick and fast. Won't be long until we're halfway through. But a great battle. Model East Kiko showing her mettle, showing how good she is. And, well, she's doing a brilliant job of it, despite the penalty earlier on in the race. She's flying through, but her and Whitfield need to, as a collective, close that gap to the drivers in front. Otherwise, they do risk not being able to get any higher than the positions they're currently in. Down Whitfield with a bit of a twitch into turn number 1, losing a little bit of momentum, maybe overdriving the car a little bit, cooking the tyres. It's easily done here at Watkins Glen. You've just got to rein it in a little bit, be a little bit less aggressive, and just try and get back into that rhythm that we saw in the early stage of this race, because we know he can do it. He's just got to extract that potential and maybe just use Mod as a sort of as a tow truck to, propel him along in this race.
You get the tow cable out there and attach it. Oh no, Daniel's gone a little bit cooked it again. He's struggling, isn't he, through that section for sure. But good thing about it, Dan's keeping on track, and he's definitely keeping his family up there on edge of their seat. Yeah, they're keeping us nice and entertained there. Daniel lives to see another day. Good work. He could drop back a little bit of time there now, but oof. And we were kind of talking about Mod Kiko and Dan actually perhaps battling it out for a race win here this evening, but unfortunately they're currently 5th and 6th. Still have pit stops to come. This man's leading this race comfortably up the road, but 2 seconds of change from Carson Keane. Their laps, Mr. Zachary, the 38s. Everybody practically is in the 38 club apart from Daniel and Mod. They're the 39 clubs too. I'll show you those times at the moment so you get an idea what they're doing.
Yeah, so some decent lap times actually being set. The fastest lap is from Carson Keane, a 38.2, and his last lap was a 38.4, so he's keeping consistent with that decent pace. Unfortunately for him, Robert Ridgway is doing an even better job. A 38.329 is his best, a 38.352 is his last, so staying very true to his best lap time. And throughout sort of racing and stuff, anyone that I spoke to really when it came to mentoring was always like, try your best to have your average lap be within sort of half a second off your fastest lap. And that's when you really know you're a consistent driver, is when as I say, your average lap is within half a second of your best. That's really what you want to aim for. And right now, Robert Ridgway is well on his way in order to succeeding in that consistency goal. Because even in sprint racing, Dean, where you're pushing as hard as you can for a short amount of time, you still have to remain consistent for each and every single lap, because it's no good being quick if you're not quick lap after lap. And
you can see it currently at the bottom of your screen, so I'm putting that data up just as you talk about it. You can see the difference in the lap times that they're exchanging between Carson Keane and Robert. See that just a little bit that they take out of each one, so lap 9 is the big difference on that one, but unfortunately you need averages, and that's against the wall, isn't it? Whoa! That's such a call, absolutely living on the edge of racing at the Watkins Glen. And he is grazing that green. What did they both do on that last lap? A 38, and that's exactly what Mr. Carson Keane did, didn't he? He shaved a bit of the time, just to confirm that one, right? Because it does get a little bit confusing, but yeah, did definitely shave some time out of Robert.
Indeed, so a little bit of time. Yeah, as you can see, 3.41, sort of as a fraction of a second, 3.5 tenths. Let's call it at that. But not enough really to see it back into contention. Still 2 seconds behind, but it's closer than he was. And if he can keep this progress up, stop making that same mistake at the bus stop chicane, we could once again see a fight for the lead. Halfway through essentially this race, lap 13 of 28. Of course, you're watching here live on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. My name is Sweeney, Dean Biggles alongside me in the commentary booth. And if you are enjoying what you're seeing, make sure you have liked, subscribed, and turn the bell on for notifications as well, because we do absolutely anything and everything under the sun when it comes to sim racing. Formula 3s, open wheels in general, some endurance racing, NASCAR, radicals, touring cars, Clios, you name it, we've got it, and we'll always find you a home when it comes to sim racing action. Even if it's a series you're comfortable with and you just want to, you know, cement your foot and watch more of your favorites, you can definitely do that here. If you're looking to branch out and explore different avenues of motorsport, you can also do that here. We will always try and do our best to provide you with the best commentary that we possibly can, and we also love engaging with you as our viewers as well. Without you guys, probably wouldn't be as possible as it is. So make sure you are commenting, giving us your thoughts, feelings, queries, questions, whatever tickles your fancy in the YouTube chat, and myself and Dean will very quickly get to you. And we do like to spark a little bit of a conversation, like we do with sort of the likes of Put Across the Pond and Ria Raccoon, some of our regulars in the JPB YouTube chat. We do like to have a little bit of a laugh with them as well. So make sure you are, you know, keeping us entertained, keeping us watching, while we are trying to keep you guys entertained with this very entertaining racing. Another fastest lap of the race from Carson Keane, a 38.196, chipping away little bits at Robert Ridgway. He's still got half the race in order to close a 2-second gap.
And Dan's had a problem, unfortunately, because he's just been overtaken. So let's have a look. Not seeing... Oh, there's Daniel. Well, that's the overtake before, wasn't it? But why has Joel... sorry, this is on lap 13. So Joel has now found a way past. Let's have a look specifically. Has Daniel made a mistake, or is this just playing with me? No, Joel hasn't made the overtake, unless there's playing around with me, saying he overtook back again. So there it is. Haven't seen too much of Joel. There is Daniel. These are the replay pictures that we're looking at the moment. Oh, that's what that is right there. So he's just had a little bit of what they call like a net code there, where you blink for a second. Your internet connection to the live server has a problem, and that just lighted up something there for a second. But you can see there is that fastest lap there from Keane, who is very keen to catch Robert in this championship. They got lap traffic up the road. And the only other thing too is I wanted to see that pit stops are going to be crucial here, getting it perfect, right? Considering you need to gain everything you possibly can. I'm just trying to have a look real quick there of why Anthony had jumped into pit road and then left 20-something seconds later on. So just stationary, you can see, gets on it and back out again. So I couldn't see the entrance into the pit road, fortunately, but I did see a couple of drivers in the practice session, as Mod's gone into the pit road, a couple of drivers in the practice session actually hitting that fence on the exit of the pit road. So they're going to be very, very careful of that. It's tricky. Let's have a look at Mod. And she's entering the pit road right now. Now she will see a lollipop person get your right spot. The car will go up on the jacks. They'll switch out those tires. You don't visually see it here. Drop it back down again on the power. Then keep an eye on this. So as you cross that trigger, you can go flat out, and that's that fence there. It can get very slippery around here. It's certainly bumpy. Come back out without crossing the line, and she will be able at one point almost 2 seconds and change down the road there for Joel and everybody else that's ahead of her. Still need to box. Daniel's crashed too, unfortunately. Oh no, I didn't want to have to do this. Sorry, Dan, but he's gone off the track, and Dan's had a moment there. So for the Whitfield family, look away. Oh, that's big impact, isn't it? So what do you think that happened specifically for him to lose that there? We're going to slow that down there and right on board. The bumps again, isn't it? overcorrection there. The first, what was it, Zach? The second one? Chicane that.
Oh, let's take another look, and just sort of digest it. So, of course, he's gone through the first. He's fine out there. The first one, it was the twitch. You saw it sent him wide. You saw that correction. It then sort of missed him the next apex, the second part of the left. And then as he was correcting, just the car went and speared himself into the barrier. Dan Whitfield will have a very extensive repair and probably won't be looking too pretty in this race. I hope it doesn't affect his confidence too much because he's a fantastic driver and we would like to see him perform well in a week's time when we head to Aragon for the season finale. But yeah, that is not the way that Dallara Formula 3 chassis rolled off the assembly line. Actually, to be fair, it probably was quite similar to that. The front wing probably wasn't attached. That obviously came at a later date, but in the showroom condition, probably not how you'd like to have a Formula 3 car set up unless you're maybe going for a straight line speed record or something or other. Robert Ridgway, Carson Keane, 1.5 seconds now is the gap as Keane reels in Ridgway for the lead.
Yep, that's all he can do. He's best at every little chip, every silly. It also plays psychological games with the driver up the road there, so because the driver's actually getting some real-time information from their engineer and their spotter saying, hey, he's catching you, who's catching you, who's catching you. That's what they're hearing. They don't want to be, you don't necessarily want to be hearing that all the time, but it is playing games. Robert's responded now fastest lap. So he's got the wake up call there to say, all right, Mr. Keane, keep going, keep going. I'm going to balance that. I'm going to counteract that for the Atomic Racing 117 machine. And Mod's back doing Mod things, and she's always getting the camera and the spotlight, because now at the moment up her road is Mr. Joel. Remember, Mod just come out of the fresh pit stop with the fresh boots on, unless it's just a splash and dash, and I think that Joel's not going to put too much of a fight up on that one, and there it is.
Yeah, it won't be a change of tyres. Not really worth your time to do so in just a short race. It's just a splash, a dash, and off you go. Only 7 seconds spent in pit lane, so yeah, probably only 2, 3, or 4 laps of worth of fuel put into the car. Petter Vedding as well will be dropped off the jacks. Well, he went up onto the jacks, which tells me he did change tyres. How long was his station?
Yeah, Mud did
only
as
6
well.
seconds.
Mud did as well, because I was wondering when you were about to say, like, you don't have to put the car up on jacks if you're doing just a scheduled fuel stop, but
maybe they changed. Can you change one side in Formula 3 cars potentially? Again, I'm not overly sure. Probably the wrong person to ask because I've never really done pit stops in Formula 3 cars. Formula 4 I have, and I know you change individual. You can change individual tires, but I've never really had to employ it, and I wouldn't imagine that it's going to be beneficial here at Watkins Glen. So maybe it's just a formality for iRacing to put the cars onto the jacks, or they just have really speedy pit crews and they were the actual pit times. Matched in terms of lap time though, slightly quicker for Carson Keane, a 38.157 as opposed to the 38.199 set by Robert Ridgway, both on some insane pace. It's just a game of cat and mouse really. One gains, the other loses, then the next lap the other loses again. It's just this wishy-washy battle between the two of them that, well, could very easily spark into a very interesting fight for the lead. It's just going to take one of them to, either Ridgway to make a mistake to allow Keane to close, or Keane to have a really good lap to close and get himself into the slipstream for this to really ramp up.
Wondering if Peter is coming around right now. Now, Pete's made his pit stop here, so let's keep an eye out for the Norwegian drivers going down the main straight full speed. But there is Mr. Andy. He comes out right now. Make sure you don't cross that line, and probably just barely in the back road, you will see Pete as Pete goes entering into turn 1. So those positions will remain the same. Mod now putting in one of her quickest times. She's 6 seconds and change down the road here from Peter Webbing. And, well, still, we're waiting to see what's happening with these two top guns in this race currently at the moment. Carson, slowly but surely, I think at the moment, Zach, this is going to be a very close, quick pit stop battle if they both box on the same lap or whatever. It's going to come down to precise times, isn't it, for the pit crew?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to have to be good stops. You're going to have to nail everything. He is in on this lap. You've got to nail the braking point. The most trivial things you wouldn't even give a second thought in practice. The line going into the pit lane, the braking point to nail the the pit entry speed. then obviously being able to stop on your marks. Unfortunately, we can't see the beautiful lollipop man of Carson Keane, but you can see now pulling off the fast lane into the pit boxes. He's got to nail the braking point as to not overshoot or undershoot. Both are easily done right at the end of the pit lane, and you can see already angling himself to have the best line coming out of the pit lane. Up onto the jacks, the fuel will be added, down once again, and off he goes, trying to maximize his pit lane entry time. 7.1 seconds stationary. Now all eyes are on Robert Ridgway. Carson Keane got to get these tyres back up to temperature and hope that this outlap is good enough to potentially, at the very least, see him close the gap.
So, and then put in these banker laps. So you don't want to just go out too crazy, and you don't want to overheat your tyres. And certainly you can see weaving to get temperature into those tyres right now. So, and then get ready for your absolutely flying. This is your outlap, of course, from your pit stop. So now you want to go, once you feel comfortable with the car, get the temperature up into them, then you absolutely put in one of your best, essentially a qualifying lap right now, knowing that Robert at some point will have to go into pit road and put the pressure on Robert. So there's going to be hopefully a very, very close battle. You can see the gap at 32.4. Keep an eye on that. We know that Carson Keane's wasn't the quickest overall pit stop, a 7.18. We had Andy had a 6.9, 6.6 for Peter. So there is a little bit more time to find.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how much fuel you saved in the first stint, really. Robert Ridgway continues for another lap, albeit with a small mistake out of turn number 1. Model East Kiko did confirm. In NASCAR here at Watkins Glen, they basically, if it's grey, it's okay. There's a little bit more regulation when it comes to Formula 3s, but still that exit out of turn 9, I believe, is the one you're allowed to use. Turn 1 is not, so Ridgway has to be careful. There you can see the pit stop strategy and the pit stop time. The quickest so far is from Petter Vedding with 6.6 seconds. So yeah, it does depend on how much fuel you used over the course of the first stint. Also sort of how early you came in and things like that. How much fuel you had in reserve, most importantly. So yeah, the longer you go, the less sort of you have to put in. So Robert Ridgway is going to be hoping for a short, sweet and simple stop, but he's probably going to be cutting it close. I'd say probably coming in either this lap or the next at maximum, and then we will see what the gap is to Carson Keane. It was about 1.7 seconds as Keane came in, 7.1 seconds stationary time, so not really a lot of wiggle room in terms of that fight.
No, absolutely not. Robert wants to get a race win here. It'll be fantastic for him. Of course, the third in the tied third in the championship. So, want to get this precise. He's done everything he needed to do. He put the car on pole. He's been leading every lap of this race with essentially just a handful of laps now, give or take 7. 9 to go, my apologies. So, yep, it doesn't have to take, but the more you can, as you said, the more you can eke out lap by lap, is the less fuel you need to take, which means your fuel stop should be shorter. He knows that. What about Carson Keane? How's Carson Keane responding? We got to probably get an accurate time very soon of Carson Keane, because now there should be a full lap from the outlap coming up. So I'll pull up that information for us. Everybody that's definitely going to be keen to look at that one. And once again, to show it correctly because you're waiting for these pit stops. But let's see if Roberto matching the times and again doing his last lap was at 38.02, so that's probably one of the quickest laps outside of the fastest lap that he already currently has. So doing everything he needs to do, still got pace. And what do you think to Zach, if you're still depending on that fuel indicator, you're still putting in great laps here and you're actually probably maintaining a little bit more of an edge. You'd continue as long as you could, couldn't you, before you box?
Yeah, but how much time do you lose saving is the question.
Yeah. Well, he's not saving if he's just getting a faster lap than everybody else currently put lap by lap.
That's true. So, well, he's probably just going to run the tank dry then, I assume, and just have a really quick stop. Because if the pace isn't dropping, then there's necessarily no incentive to come in unless you're limited by fuel. So we'll see. Through the penultimate corner, is he going to be ending his stint? No, he continues on for another lap, unless he's going to be quite naughty with it. He's not, because you do have to stay within the orange lines on the right-hand side of the circuit. Robert Ridgway, of course, we're watching, so if you are naughty, we'll see it. Carson Keane was a good boy in terms of keeping it within the pit lane limit, so Let's make sure everything is nice and fair. But can we just bring up that lap time graphic again? Because that was insanely close. His lap times over the course of the last recent laps have all been, I think, within the 38.1s, which is absolutely insane. Though Carson Keane also boasting similar levels of consistency. The last couple of laps you can see there, very, very close. Of course, it's been a little bit adjusted, lap 18 and 19, because of the in-lap and out-lap and things. But since, Keane has been closing a little bit.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Wow, half a second. Now, that's a response. Now, at this point, Robert, you got to think, all right, I can't afford to potentially lose another half a second here. So you've got to come in. Obviously, he had the advantage on lap 20, but not having the advantage off lap 21. So big things are coming through Mr. Roberts' radio right now with his team. You can see it bouncing that car around, sliding. I love that section. The drivers actually really appreciate it. And let's have a look. So we're going to ride on board. Does he get the message from his race control to box, box, box? Or is he going to stay out for one more?
Find out from Robert Ridgway. He's got probably a couple more corners here. You can see the number 1 car going through the left. So we'll see if he is going to be coming into the pit lane and see if he does behave himself on his way in. If he does decide, he continues on another lap. Oh no, he doesn't. He's in.
He's in. Sorry.
Well, finally, took him a while.
Yep,
there he is. There's Robert Ridgway peeling his way down pit lane. Now it's a race against time. Is it going to be Carson Keane or is it going to be Robert Ridgway that emerges in the lead of this race? Lap 22 of 28. Not long left to go. That's, remember, only 7 laps in it.
There's Carson.
Well, now only 6 because we're on to lap 23. He was ending 22. There's Carson Keane still waiting to stop his Ridgway. I think this is going to be close.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the absolute best camera. You can see him stop right now. Where's Carson? Coming around the final corner right now. Roberts in pit road. He's going to have an exit here. Ooh. Carson a little bit further down the field. Let's go on board with Carson. If he can see Robert exiting out of pit road around here. Where is Robert? Robert's up the road here.
That's huge. That's a huge gap.
That's massive.
Robert
4
Ridgway.
seconds.
His stationary time was only 4 seconds. Yeah. So by staying out longer, he had been able to save 2.5 seconds worth of fuel time. Because as we say, the longer you run it, the less you have to put back in, essentially, I suppose. But then that's the same if you come in early, because then you've already got more in reserve. So that's interesting, unless they both ran it to the fuel tank dry, in which case Carson Keane was using a lot more fuel. But still very confused as to the difference in terms of the fuel times. I suppose under more logical circumstances it would make sense that the longer you go, the less you have to put back in. But they all started with the same amount of fuel anyway. So there wouldn't be surely that much difference in terms of the fuel consumption. Regardless of which, somehow Robert Ridgway has been able to extend his gap to now 4 seconds. And well, as long as he can maintain this gap and run at a decent pace, it should be his to lose.
Look at that, up the top. I was waiting for the other graphic to actually update. Unfortunately, it probably has to take a lap to do it, but that is your pit stop time stationary. 4.5. That's the difference between himself and Carson Keane, isn't it? That's the gap that he's formed. Carson Keane's 7.1. This is also about spotting your box perfectly. Remember, we don't see the lollipop person from our perspective, but the drivers do. And if you just slightly off on an angle, or you're a little short, you're stopping on that one, it costs you those milliseconds of time. And that's all it takes at this level of competition. 5 to go.
Not long. It's flown by. We've got about 7.5 minutes left of racing action. Robert Ridgway, Carson Keane, 3.5 seconds between the two. Modley's Kiko and Petter Vedding only separated by 1.5 in that fight for 4th. So Modley's Kiko might not be the podium or win she'd have hoped for with the top 2 in the championship absent, but it could well still be the best result possible despite that penalty earlier on. I'm sure we'll get some insight in the interviews later on. Well, not really later on, in a few minutes time. In all fairness, she's pushing like absolute crazy in order to find some time relative to Petter Vedding. The gap's still 1.5 seconds, but it's coming down thick and fast.
Yep, this is the time to push like mad in the team radio. Just go, give everything you got. We're going to mode 6 there for mode 6. Just make it up as you go along. It just basically means give it absolutely everything. You don't have to worry about your fuel or tires right now. If you've got it all sorted, there is your pit stop information. That's perfectly what Ridgway has done, isn't it? Staying out a lot longer. And on that lap, lap 22 compared to lap 18 made a massive amount of difference. Now, It's Mod's time to shine, and what can she do about Peter up the road there? Peter's gained 3 positions in this race, so he's still gaining quite good for the 73 machine, and Mod's dropped 1, unfortunately, due to those drive-throughs that we had incidents at the start of this race. So, this is it.
It is. Sprint to the finish. I mean, it's been a sprint since lap 1, but yeah, more so now. She's in within a second of Petter Vedding, who himself has had a really good race, up 3 places. Modley Kiko, unfortunately, not the race she'd have wanted, as we said, but her pace has been blisteringly quick, matching the likes of Robert Ridgway and Carson Keane. So it would have been interesting to see what she could have done without that penalty in the early stages, but well, you cannot live in hindsight when it comes to racing. It's never shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's always the absolutes. It's always what can you do from now, what can you do right now, what can you take control of in this current moment. And Modley Kiko is trying to take control of this battle and get herself up into 4th place.
Let's get a focus, let's concentrate right now. In fact, if anything, Zachary, take us on board and ride in the cockpit of Mod's machine there. Tell us what she'd be doing, what she'd be thinking, where she'd be going.
Yeah, well, let's see what she can do. Into the bus stop chicane, you can see turning really early, nearly brushing that wall, but you've got to be that committed because you want to straight line the corner as much as possible. Then you've got the long run through the right-hander, trying to keep the foot planted as much as possible. You don't take to the NASCAR route, you dip your way downhill into the braking zone for yet another hairpin. Down to 4th gear, biting back for a late apex. Modley Kiko trying to maximise her run relative to Petter Vedding, get the good exit. Now as you run your way at the uphill run here at the toe, again it's all about a late apex, it's all about putting your foot to the floor, it's all about climbing through the rev range and building up the speed on this back straight called the boot towards the heel, funnily enough, because it probably looks like a bit of a boot. Another heavy braking zone, 3rd gear corner though, and you can see Kiko very, very vicious in terms of her driving style, forcing Vedding to go defensive, putting him under pressure, and now sparking a bit of an attack. It won't be long until she finds her way onto the backpack of Petter Vedding.
And this is it. She's got to focus on her racing line as well too. We saw her previously, we've seen it before in this league and other leagues, where if you're racing the car, if you're using the car itself up the road there as a racing line, that's not going to be good because that car makes a mistake. So do you. Brakes heavily right now in the 4th. Let the car slide out. You can hear. Actually, you can really hear it inside the car. They scrape, they slide. Look at this. She's certainly got the speed here. Peter's going to hold on tight here. He's going to do everything he can to make it difficult for her to overtake. But we do know Modalise is one of the best overtakers in this league, and she's going to go for it right now, Zachary.
She's going for it. Left-hand side for the 778 machine. She's going for the move. Petter Vedding, well, doesn't really put up too much of a fight. Modley Kiko, with fantastic bravery, sends herself into 4th place, ahead now of Petter Vedding, and well, brilliant stuff. Again, back to where she started, but it's been a fight all the way through. Now only 2.5 laps left to go. Let's see how she done it. Vedding all the way to the right, didn't really have much of a choice because the swooping nature of the corner just allowed Kiko to get herself ahead, and well, a nice move into 4th.
Yeah, I'm wondering why Peter didn't. He did put up a fight before. Do you think he exhausted his energy on that previous one? Unless he's thinking about coming back right now and using that slipstream. But unfortunately, you are in the penultimate lap, or at least Robert started the penultimate lap, as you can see, the 1 and 2 on your track map. These are the 4 and 5 machines, and I don't know. But it just seems like it's weird by Peter. Unless Peter at the sea at the moment. Mod's made a mistake, and here he goes, coming back. He may have even planned this one, Zach.
Maybe so. Maybe intentionally went for the counter-attack, or this is just his last-ditch effort on the penultimate lap to try and find his way back through. But I think Modley Kiko's got this one in the bag, unless Vedding has been able to magically keep the pressure on and keep her looking in her mirrors.
That was very interesting. Mod could have almost thrown that one away there for a second after that brilliant work that she did to chase him down, the Norwegian driver, and then all of a sudden, one little mistake, and you give that position back. It's going to be gut-wrenching. But no mistakes have been made for this man, the 117. Roberto has done everything perfect all weekend. He put it on pole. He has the fastest lap, if I'm no, no, he doesn't actually. So sorry, he doesn't get the trifecta, but he will get the double. But certainly, he's not going to worry about that, is he? He's going to be like Biggles and Zach. I'm getting the race win, and no longer. Well, I've definitely secured myself a 3rd in the championship. It's especially with Mod down there in P4. And all he has to do, my friend, is this final corner to go, Zach.
No, he's got one more lap yet.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
And then you have a lap early. It's a flag that Barney will be waving. It's just lacking some black. Robert Ridgway crosses the line to start the final tour of the Watkins Glen Grand Prix circuit. 4 seconds clear of Carson Keane. And the only person stopping himself right now is himself. As you say, he's looking to get himself ahead of Model East Kiko in the championship after being tied on 96 points apiece. And it's a good step forward in securing that third place if he can, and becoming only the third race winner this season. Anthony Zyke, well, no prizes for the barrier there. He's tried to get it stopped, but still some fairly significant damage to his Formula 3 machine.
At this point, you've got nothing to lose anyway. A couple laps down, your P8. All you have to do is just bring the car around there and see Barney. It's all good. You still get the P8. Nothing to lose. Probably, if anything, why drivers do that sometimes if they're at the back is because you're pushing it yourself, right? You're probably going to the absolute limit. You're going, you know what? I'm going to just give it like basically qualifying laps or absolutely blistering practice laps, because once again, if there's nobody else around him, which there wasn't at that point, he's not going to cause any problems with other drivers. I would do it. You'd probably do it, Zach. Just push like mad and see what the fastest time you could pull out of that machine during a race as well, too. Remember, on low fuel. But there's something that this man cannot afford to do, no doubt at this point, is push it to the absolute limit. Oh, no! And he did. Right on. There's your coincidence. Just the background, Carson Keane as well, too. Almost mimicked the power slide. So whatever it is, I spoke too soon. They're pushing it to the limit, but not just wait yet. Zachary, he's got it. He's got it.
He has. And he becomes the third race winner of this season. Robert Ridgway scaring us through the third to last corner. Skids his way across the line, takes the checkered flag here in upstate New York for round number 7 of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. Carson Keane, Andy Yeager will join them on the podium in a very, very competitive fight for the lead. Back and forth all race long. Here's a woman, though, that you, would have been sort of saying that, it's just a poor race. She's only, she hasn't worked her way forward at all. But she's been making overtakes left, right, and centre. Since that penalty at the start of the race, she's fought her way back to 4th and finds herself taking a decent points haul. Petter Vedding in P5 as well, quite chuffed with his result, up 2 places from the start. Down Whitfield, though, unfortunately, a couple of mistakes from him alongside that penalty early on sees him only been able to take 6th place, 11 seconds behind Petter Vedding. Joel Dutton, Anthony Zyche, yet to cross the line, still waiting for the two to take to the checker flag. In fact, it's just Joel Dutton we're waiting for. He's still got a third of the lap left to go, but Biggles nonetheless, that was a very enthralling race, and I'm going to be curious to hear from the drivers about sort of what we have to inquire about. Obviously that penalty first and foremost, because we still have no idea what it was for.
Yeah, we don't, and that's something we definitely tuning in and sticking around for at the moment. As I think a lot of drivers are pretty excited and happy about that race, because you see a lot of them even in as Joel just slams on the brakes there for the Desperado Racing Motorsport there. And hey, you're still happy there, Joel, because you gained a position. No, at the end of the day, everybody essentially has gained a position. Peter gained 2, believe it or not. So even though he finished in P5, he's the one that's gained the most. Here are those results for you. Yes, we can't wait to listen to the drivers, some of the drivers' interviews. Zachary, final results.
Robert Ridgway, victorious here for the penultimate round. Carson Keane, Andy Yeager on the podium. Model East Kiko and Petter Vedding round off a very tight top 5, with Dan Whitfield unfortunately just missing out. Joel Dutton, the last of those that made it to the checker flag on the lead lap, with Anthony Zyche and Dominic Angelico a couple of laps down. Well, Dominic Angelico, a little bit more than a couple of laps down, didn't make it past the first lap. We have concluded the racing action, but we have got plenty of drivers to take a pick from. First and foremost, as usual, we'll grab in Model East Kiko to have a bit of a word with us. Mod, first of all, it was a great race. Maybe not the race you would particularly have wanted, but it was a fight through all the way, and you managed to get yourself back into 4th. But we do have to ask, the opening lap, what happened?
So I got on the grid, and I was amused by the fact that my steering wheel was displaying some random numbers that meant nothing to me. And I thought, I wonder what that means. I don't know what it means, but what I do know is that my clutch was no longer working. So when I went to accelerate with my clutch on red light, I just went forward and I was like, oh, hello. So I got a drive-through penalty. Thank goodness, actually, the rules have changed this season because that would have been a stop-go penalty last season. But this season, just a drive-through because I only did a little bit of a hiccup rather than a full, complete, go. Oh, so that was a bit of a mess.
But you fought your way back through. You fought valiantly. Do you know why anyone? I mean, obviously we'll have a word with him, but Dan Whitfield also came into the pit lane on the opener lap. I presume it's just instinct to react to those around you. Maybe just drop the clutch too early.
Honestly, I don't know what happened to Daniel. I mean, he may have had I don't know if he got a jump as well, and whatever happened to him happened to me. And there was I honestly don't know what happened because the three of us came in. It was me, Joel, and Daniel, right? We all came in at the same time.
Yeah, you all did for the same penalty. So a little bit bizarre, and it's a shame because it knocked all three of you largely out of contention. And we were really looking forward to this race based on how close you all were in qualifying. But nonetheless, it was overall a decent result for you. Are you? Well, first of all, it's the penultimate round of the season. In a week's time, we'll go to Aragon. Are you feeling confident about the finale?
I've never even seen Aragon, so I couldn't really tell you if it's a track suited to me. This was my last best hope for keeping on that podium because I've done a lot of time here at Watkins. So it's up in the air. It's anyone's game. Who knows what will happen? It's going to be exciting, and everyone should tune in.
Absolutely. And a couple of weeks after that, we set sail for the Super Formula Championship for season 3, but not really season 3. It's season 1, but season 3. With the new chassis. Are you joining us for that one? And well, I suppose, are you looking forward to it?
Well, I am looking forward to it, but I can't join. A whole sequence of real life events means I'm taking 2 seasons off league racing because I can't squeeze it in. So I'll probably watch. I'm still going to be around, but yeah, I won't have the time to put into to participate, unfortunately.
Oh, that is a shame, but we will be looking forward to seeing you in the YouTube chat. Thank you so much for joining us, Mod. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give before we let you go?
I don't think so. Just I might do a public oopsie for Daniel. I know I gave him a bit of a tap. I don't know if that led to anything because he dropped off after that. So mea culpa, but yeah, hello to Daniel's family. I assume you're watching.
Of course they are. Absolutely, the entire family tree. Susan and Shayla, we've seen. There's also the another person that comes in and tunes in. But yeah, they are here. They're cheering along, the good old Whitfield cheerleaders. But thank you for tuning in and joining us, Mod. And well done on your 4th place.
Thank you very much. Take care. See you next week.
See you next week. Modelist Kiko, 4th place in this race. Next up, we'll have a quick word with. Who should we go with? Let's go with Petter Vedding. Let's go in ascending order from now on. Petter Vedding, up 2 places from qualifying. A tough race nonetheless, but you still managed to bag a top 5. Not too bad.
Yeah, finally a top 5 for me. I guess everybody else had to make some sort of mistake for that to happen since they all pitted on the first lap. Did they get a penalty for something?
Yeah, so we just spoke with Mod, and she said that her clutch wasn't working. So when she went to accelerate with the clutch down, she was in gear and just rolled. So got a drive through. And then what we're guessing is that Daniel and Yoel basically just reacted to it and then got themselves a drive through penalty. I'm assuming that's what happened.
Okay.
But we don't know. We just know what happened to Mod. We might be able to have a word. Actually, no, Daniel Whitfield and Joel Dutton don't want to come and talk to us, unfortunately, but we don't know. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a decent result for you. 5th place, can't complain.
Nah, I can't complain. It's fine. It's nearing the end of the season. My aim for when joining this championship was just try to be in the top 10 at the end. So I might be able to pull that off the way it's looking right now, unless I have a really poor performance in my last race. Thankful for the others' mistakes, so I could get a P5. I tried. Mod was significantly faster than me here today. I was like, am I going to fight her? Or am I going to finish the race? Is what my gut was telling me, and that's why I decided we're not going side by side into is it the boot or whatever?
Where was it she overtook you? Into the bus stop she came, but you did have another look. Yeah, at some point, but yeah, I think probably the better idea is just to sit behind and bag that 5th place. Not really worth the risk, but
Nah.
maybe you can get another one in a week's time when we go to Aragon. How you feeling?
I don't own the track. I'm gonna purchase it. I'm going to watch guides and start learning. So I don't know. As I've been saying all this time, I'm learning and competing as well as I can at the same time. I think doing is the best way to learn. So that's why I'm here. So yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully I'll figure it out.
Fingers crossed. We do wish you good. It has been good to see your progress over the course of the season. It's been
Thank you.
noticeable that you've been getting better. Will you be joining us, though, beyond that, for the Super Formula Championship?
Oh
Because
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's why I got into this, to drive the really fast cars. That's what I think is the most engaging when you can't really like zone out in a straight because the car is kind of slow. So I'm really looking forward to driving the Super Formula. I can't promise I'm going to be the best there either. I have no idea. These guys are really good. I respect all of these guys in the league. They're really good drivers. They're helping me so much. I did bottom splits in officials just to check out my pace, and I got a P3 and a P2 right after each other. So it's really doing a lot for me driving with these guys. But I'm really looking forward to driving the SF23. It's a beautiful car. It's so much fun to drive.
it is. And don't worry, because the Super Formula is new to everyone. So it'll be a learning curve for everyone. Hopefully, it'll be something that you can capitalize on. But, well, nonetheless, thank you for joining us, Petter. Is there any shout outs you want to be giving before we let you go?
Today, I'm just going to shout out to JPBroadcasting. You guys are awesome. It's so amazing to watch your stuff. It's an honor to be a part of it. Super fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you too. Take care, and we'll see you in a week's time, Petter.
All right. Bye, man.
Take care for now. Petter Vedding, the Norwegian driver. Nearly went to drag him out of the voice chat until he left, and then I grabbed Biggles' name. So thankfully, I didn't get rid of our production. That would have been a little bit awkward. Next up, though, we have got Carson Keane, 2nd place today. He is here. He's just unmuted his microphone, so we will be able to have a chat with him. Carson, it was close, not quite enough. I think it was the pit stop really that cost you that one. But all in all, pretty decent race.
Yeah, it was a good race. Robert was pretty much perfect, I think. I picked up some damage through a couple adventures through the bus stop, and I think I should have pit maybe earlier to get rid of that damage because I think it was slowing me down a bit. But honestly, I'm not sure I could have caught Robert either way. He was killing it today.
He was very quick, but it was a good fight to begin with. That early stage battle between the two of you, and yeah, we didn't touch sort of on that bus stop chicane being brutal because obviously the curbs and things, how stiff these Formula 3 cars are, and I'm guessing it must have been suspension damage from just the sheer bumps going over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Like if you don't hit the perfect line on the entry into the bus stop, you're in for a bucking ride through the next couple curbs.
We saw a couple times.
Yeah, it was adventurous, that's for sure. I was looking at the sky a couple times when I didn't plan on it, but like I say, either way, I'm not sure I could have caught Robert, and then yeah, it was a good race though from there.
100%. Well, a week's time we go for the season finale at Aragon. How are you feeling about your chances there? Maybe you can bag another podium?
I'd hope so. I've actually never raced there. I'll have to have a look at the track, see what we're up against. But I've heard some good things from some buddies, so fingers crossed it'll be another good race.
And then beyond that, will you be joining us for the Super Formula Championship for the kind of season 3, but it's season 1 because it's a new car sort of thing? Will you be coming for us in that with us in that adventure around the world in the new chassis on iRacing?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been messing around with the new Super Formula car quite a bit and really enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to giving it a go in the series next year.
Nice.
Or
Well,
next
we wish
season.
next season, of course. Yeah, well, we of course wish you the best of luck for that. It's going to be an interesting learning curve, I think, for everyone. So should be quite spicy indeed. But Carson, before we let you go, is there any shout outs you want to be giving to the YouTube chat?
Just shout out you guys for broadcasting, Brian for organizing, all the other guys who volunteer, and just community in general. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. Well, take care. We'll see you back in a week's time when we head to Aragon.
Thanks, guys.
Carson Keane then, 2nd place in today's race. And once again, very poorly timed because I don't know if they're going to leave it by themselves or if I need to drag them out of the voice channel. And every single time I'm scared I'm going to drag Biggles out. I haven't done it yet, so we're all good. Finally, though, the man himself, Robert Ridgway, taking his first victory of this season and cementing himself firmly in that 3rd place in the championship with just 1 round to go. Robert, decent race, I have to say. Not too bad of a result. Carson Keane said you were practically flawless.
Well, man, Carson was keen on trying to get me. We had a nice little start at the beginning, had a nice little battle first lap, and then I felt like I had a coach behind me in a golf cart making me run laps.
He was pushing you, weren't he? He was all the way through, but you gained a lot of time in that pit stop window. I think it was 2.5 seconds quicker than Carson in the pit stop. Were you, I suppose, maybe saving fuel for a shorter stop, or was the fact that you went so long meant that you could, have to put less in to shorten your pit stop? I mean, in the end, you sort of had the quickest stop than the quickest stop of anyone.
I think it's tires. I didn't take tires. He took tires, and that's about the time. Like, it was maybe 1.5, and then 4 seconds was the time behind me. So I think taking tires, a little bit of time, cold tire lap, a little bit of time, adds up to about 3.5 seconds. So thank you, Carson, for taking tires. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, he also says he was fielding a little bit of damage as well. So maybe there's also that for him to fall back on. But nonetheless, a 3-second victory. Can't complain with it at all. The first of the season, you must be ecstatic. And, well, a week's time, we'll head to Aragon for the season finale. You feeling excited?
Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe I got a win out of this one. So I'm definitely excited for the final round. And, I think I got like a few points behind Rune for P2. So we'll see how it goes. Should be a fun one.
Should definitely be a fun one. Beyond that, of course, we'll touch on it more next week. But we head around the world in the brand new Super Formula car here on iRacing. You going to be joining us for that tour around the world?
I'm very tempted to. I got to learn how to drive it a little bit, but
so does everyone,
it's fun.
Mate. So does everyone.
I know,
so
right? If I push the pass, I'll be fine. I got a boost button.
Exactly. Just extra nitrous, like in the Fast and Furious movie. Just you get all the gears, and all the buttons to push. But yeah, nonetheless, it should be a very interesting season. But we do have to round it off in a week's time when we head to Aragon. Before we let you go, though, Robert, is there any shout-outs you want to be giving to the YouTube chat?
Oh, sure. I shout out you guys. Shout out the league. Shout out Atomic Racing, and shout out the fam. And you guys have a great weekend. That was fun. Thanks for the broadcast.
Thank you for joining us. Well done on the win, and we'll see you back in a week's time.
Deuces.
Robert Ridgway then taking the victory here today, 3 seconds clear of Carson Keane. We've got a lot of shout-outs today, Biggles. I'm feeling quite special. Pretty much all of them said thank you to JP Broadcasting. So cheers, guys. We're very, very fortunate to be in your hearts and shout out. It's not that deep, but yeah, cheers, guys. Appreciate it nonetheless. Dean, it's been a fun evening of racing action, and well, one more to go.
Yeah, one more to go. I mean, obviously, and then what happened at the start too with Model-Elise and causing that gaggle of cars going into pit road, isn't it? And the great battle you saw between Robert and Carson that were right on the money. And Robert basically counteracted that question that we had during the stream, didn't it? I was like, why was there a massive difference between 4.5 seconds pit stop and 7 was tires. So they were taking tires that we're a little unsure of. But Zachary, but yes, thank you for the praise out there. I think I got it all good today as well too, without anything breaking for the replays. So touch wood, that's worked as well. And looking forward to the finale.
Very much so. In a week's time, ladies and gentlemen, the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship. Season number 2 of it will come to a close. Will it be David Holland? Will it be Mackenzie Rune that comes out on top in the championship? Will it be someone else that maybe get themselves inside the top 2? Plenty of questions that need answering when we head around one of the newest circuits on the iRacing service of Aragon. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I've had Dean Biggles alongside me here today for the penultimate round in Watkins Glen. It was Robert Ridgway that took the victory in very, very good fashion indeed. It's been a pleasure to talk you through all the action here today. Don't forget, in a few weeks' time, the Sim Racing for Simpletons will embark on their new journey in the Super Formula machine, newly added to iRacing. If you do want to get yourself involved and you fancy some good old Super Formula fun, a new learning curve for some, and you like your single-seaters, definitely do try and get yourself signed up and ready to go, because numbers are always going to be appreciated. Get yourself in the Discord, and do definitely inquire. If not, I'm sure there's plenty of other championships that you'd like to indulge in. There's always something going on in terms of JP Broadcasting, so make sure you have a look, see what you fancy, and get yourself involved where you can. And even if you can't, come and join us in the YouTube chat as well, because we love having your company. We love hearing your thoughts, feelings, queries, questions, and just the all-in-out banter that we have with the YouTube chat as well. It's amazing. But the waffling is over, guys. As I say, that is unfortunately going to bring an end to the coverage. We'll see you back in a week's time for the finale of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Formula 3 Championship Season number 2. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.